the Baen Free Radio Hour.
Hello and welcome to the Baen Free Radio Hour. This week we bring you the second half of our panel where we talk to a select group of podcasters and internet personalities about what brought them to engage with online communities with their content and fandom. Our panel includes the fine folks from Bullshido and Blasters and Blades, as well as Jill Bearup, whose advice on dealing with some of the platforms has been useful to a great many people, including the Baen Free Radio Hour, as well as her extensive knowledge of stage fighting and fighting with blades.
So one of the things I want to get into too is, are there anything that your fans don't know about you that you're willing to share that would surprise them? Start with you, JR.
Well, I've done the thinking man pose on a gold toilet seat in Saddam's palace. So that was kind of cool. Although there were heavy guards because like they had chandeliers that had strings where it was like nothing but diamonds strung together on long chandeliers. And obviously they don't want us to steal historic artifacts, etc., and national treasure. So they literally had a guard at the bottom, and they warn you when you get the tour, like they will shoot you if you try to touch it. So that was kind of cool, doing the thinking man. And I'm alive because I forgot my toilet paper. We stopped at a base outside of BIOP, it's the Baghdad International Airport, and I get to the latrine, the porta potty, and I don't have my toilet paper in my cargo pocket, and there's none in there. So I walk out. I'm about 25 meters from this porta potty when a mortar lands on it, and all I could think of was, "Wow, that'd have been a shitty way to go." And I have to tell you, I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I should have done a better one-liner in the moment, which is not why I'm skeptical when people have the perfect one-liners in the moment, because brain doesn't work that way for most people.
That's still a pretty good one-liner. It's entirely accurate.
Yeah, I was just in shock, and that was all I could think of, because the porta potties are nasty. If you've ever been on a construction site, you know what I'm talking about. And to have that raining on you is just not a pleasant experience. There are not enough showers.
No, not. I would doubt there are. Wow. So, Jill, you had something to top that?
Absolutely not. I mean, I grew up in Northern Ireland, and so our threshold for like slightly weird stories is a little bit different to everybody else's, but no, I think I will go in a different direction. Let's see, something people. I, at the age of 38, finally actually read the whole of the Lord of the Rings, which I had never managed before. Because when I was a teenager, I read the first one and I was like, okay. And then I tried and failed to read The Two Towers about 5 times. And then I went, I've seen the movie. I know what happens. I'll read the third one. And read the third one and really liked it. But I was like, I'm not reading The Two Towers again. And then I thought, well, it's now, it's been 25 years. Maybe, as it turns out, Lord of the Rings, you can't read it because you want to know what's going to happen. You just have to kind of vibe. Enjoy the descriptions of the plants and many, many, many different kinds of trees that there are. And, we're going to stop and talk to this guy for a while. And when I read it with a sort of stage combat hat on, I was also like, Tolkien really doesn't like writing a person on, small groups of people fighting violence, because a lot of the things that happen, which are small groups of people, it's like, what happened? Oh, well, Boromir is dead, and there's this whole action scene that they just kind of tell you about later. Like, what happened? Well, some stuff, and the hobbits have been taken, and Boromir is dead, and he fought them, and he was really brave. I'm like, okay, but where were we? We were off with these other guys while that was happening. Okay.
Which is kind of an interesting, take on that too, because I didn't realize how much like the Roman theater that is. Right? That most of the action takes place off scene. Certainly the violence does in any case. Interesting. I wonder if that was informed by his experiences in the war.
I also wondered that.
Take some Tolkien scholar to let us know. Steve?
Gosh, I had something and now I've forgotten. Let Fletcher go.
Okay, I'll go. Let's see. I have fans would know that I have a um predilection for challenging people on the internet to fights off the internet, and I have been doing that. Which is actually one of the reasons why Steve and I know each other, because a mutual not friend got that treatment, and yeah, I've had a few of those, so it's fine. And I'm 100% sincere. Probably shouldn't do that now that I'm 50, but so probably I'm not going to commit to anything. But I'm 5'10" and about 200 pounds, so a lot of people assume just because I am hyper aggressive that I'm like 6'7", and and then when they meet me in person, like, oh, you're just a dude, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm spectacularly underwhelming in person. I mean, I'm kind of fit, but nobody's gonna confuse me for a WWE star. So I guess that's probably one of the things that people know, and I think it's fair to point that out.
Sure.
Okay, I got something. All right. Okay, so and JR can confirm this, I'm sure, but TBIs and brain damage are really weird. I had my TBI and then forgot like a lot of my past, like a lot. I went to my high school reunion, and my ex-wife went with me. One guy went up to me and he was like, "Hey man, you were a skinny guy in high school." I was like, "Yeah, I was." He was like, "Yeah, but you wrestled," and I was like, "I did wrestle," and he was like, "Yeah, and you had 1 year where you were like undefeated," and I was like, I did have a year because I was wrestling featherweight. So I had no memory of this. And my ex was like, is this real? This really happened? I was like, yeah. And then that same high school reunion, somebody put in some big memory about me. So I won an award for best memory, which I think is the funniest damn thing you could give anyone that has a TBI and has memory issues. So there you go. That's how I'm surprising myself, and I guess would surprise other people too. So
That's pretty fascinating. That something that big, you would think, wow.
yeah, you would think, but
So for the TBI, if anyone wants to understand brain damage, there's a book called My Beautiful Brain. I can't remember the author's name. She did a series of interviews. It's only available on Audible. It's an Audible exclusive. It's not even a print version of it. If you look for it, it's a picture of a brain with like psychedelic colors around it. And she interviewed a bunch of athletes, largely soccer players, or football, because this was a lot of English soccer stars, football stars, whatever. And if you want to understand, like, I don't normally cry, but I was getting a little teary-eyed listening to that one because it's kind of harsh, and people don't seem to realize it because in the movies they always shrug and get back up like it's nothing. And it's the neurologist actually told me that moderate to mild TBIs are the worst because not only did you lose things, you remember everything you lost. Like you knew you used to be able to do the thing that you can't do anymore. Whereas when you have, and the difference between that and severe is foreign object debris penetration. So the Phineas Gage type thing, when that happens, you just don't know. You're kind of oblivious, and that could be a blessing for you. Whereas with what Steve and I dealt with, it was like, wait, I used to be able to do this thing. I can't do it anymore.
yeah.
So,
and I think what's worse about it's so weird to explain to people, but you're like, something is missing, like, and it's not like I haven't forgotten it, but it's just not there. It just feels different when you're trying to like remember something that's just sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but I used to tell people it's like drowning in static is what it felt like.
yes.
Right in the early days. Sorry.
It's like going to sleep normal and waking up with severe ADHD.
Yeah. And the mood swings too. Like I feel like nobody ever covers the mood swings with TBIs in a lot of media. But like you can be having a conversation with someone after your TBI, and then all of a sudden you start weeping, and you're like, "What the?" And they're like, "Are you sad?" And you're like, "No." Like I don't know what's going on. Like
so it's a picture of the book is called The Beautiful Brain. I looked it up. It's by Hannah Walker Brown. And it's also was podcast originally. It's worth your time if you've got anybody or even that play sports, because you don't really think sports when you think about that too. In fact, boxers have their own form of TBI. They give it its own name. It's like pugilitis or something, separate from just regular traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, because they were studying it a long time ago because
right.
It's been known that you get punch drunk.
Yes.
that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating, all the different origins on that. Wow. We've gone a lot of different places, but I'm going to bring it back into the science fiction and fantasy realm here. In a variation on JR's question on the blasters and blades, what religion are you? Science fiction or fantasy? And what's your favorite Bane book in that religion? Let's put it that way. We'll start with Fletcher this time.
Oh, okay. Bastard. No, definitely sci-fi. I am a huge Heinlein fan. If anybody starts calling him a fascist because of Starship Troopers, I crack my knuckles and wade into that argument. I don't care where it is, on Reddit, on Facebook, on, it's some retirement home. You'll find me in the middle of that one. So, yeah, just don't bring that up within 500 miles of me, or I'll be there. So, yeah, sci-fi all the way.
Cool.
You want to go next?
Sure.
I think I favor sci-fi, but I'm kind of split. If sci-fi, I don't know, Honor Harrington, I think we were talking about, because I'd read some Weber, but it's hard for me. That's a hard split because I really love fantasy, but I've never been able to write fantasy comfortably. But so it's a hard split. So I'm torn.
So for consumption, it's science fiction, or
no, for
maybe
consumption,
not.
it's both.
Yeah.
It's both. Yeah.
Can't even pick a lane. Straddling those lanes, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to write fantasy. I've had plans for writing a fantasy novel for a while, but I'm not sure I can pull it off, which is why I should probably try. But yeah, I definitely mostly science fiction. So
cool. Jill?
Probably fantasy, because even when I read, thing is, I don't really like epic fantasy that much. What I like is space opera. I like all of the fantasy things, but in space. So I'm like, just don't bog me down with too much world building on either side. Just let me fill in the blanks myself, and just tell me something that will entertain me. 'Cause I really love Discworld, but when it comes to romances, I learned recently I've been pronouncing the Liaden universe wrong the whole time and I still don't know how it's pronounced because I can't read it I cannot read the word any other way. But that's just Regency romance in space. I'm like, that's what I want. There's a whole lot of like sci-fi stuff. Also, there are spaceships and it's great, but mostly
aliens, but that's just
it's like it's Pride and Prejudice in space, and I'm into that.
And I believe it's Liaden. Having spoken with Sharon and Steve before he passed, I believe it's Liaden.
There you go.
So we can answer some questions for you too. JR?
So I'm kind of evenly split. I like fantasy and science fiction. My first memory of reading, I got in trouble in school. I was always a precocious reader, so I was reading Stephen King's I think it was It. Not because I liked it, because it was in fourth grade and it was a shock factor to see the teacher see you reading it behind your textbooks, and I got bored. So as punishment, my mom says, okay, you're going to sit next to me and you're going to read something that's age appropriate. So I read David Eddings' the Belgariad series and then the Malorian. So, but I also was reading the Star Wars extended lore books before they were called that, Rogue Squadron, X-Wing, all of those. So I've kind of been all over the place the whole time. If you ask for some of my favorites, so obviously the Belgariad series by David Eddings, I really enjoyed that one. The Homecoming Saga by Orson Scott Card. I'm not sure who published that one, but one that's definitely a Bane book would be Oath of Swords by David Weber. I like that better than his Honor Harrington stuff. I know they're going to send me the hate mail, but
no. I mean, hey, whatever.
We got to find you first.
and I believe that there's more of that coming soon.
Cool.
I think there's a collaboration in the wind for somebody, if I remember rightly. I'm trying to recall exactly. There's so many things going on. Movement beneath the surface. Okay, so everybody copped out on actually picking a religion, more or less, except for Jill. Jill actually picked space opera and stayed in that lane. And
can we say speculative fiction? That covers all the things.
Yeah, but that's not the question. But it is interesting that we didn't have anybody saying hard science fiction.
I don't mind a good hard science fiction, but too often it's an excuse to get preachy on the science and forget the story.
I mean, I'd be interested to hear from our scientist on the panel on his take on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Blind Sight was probably the most recent hard science fiction book that I have read. And while it does have interesting questions about consciousness, and we're still trying to figure that out, on a neuroscience level, it was also just kind of a, story. So again, time is limited. We don't have unlimited lifetimes. And so if you're going to read a book, yeah, it's fun to engage with those ideas, but I'd rather do that in a conversation than in a narrative. And if the narrative's just like, okay, yeah, space vampire who's not entirely self-aware, is he sentient? Is he sapient? I don't know. Cool. Meanwhile, I want to get back to, like Americans in 1632, rampaging over Europe and, imposing America and that sort of thing. So that's where, if the book doesn't at some point either make me go, oh, or yeah, then yeah, what am I doing?
Gotcha. All right. So we'll start with the next one is your favorite protagonist in fiction. Like everybody's thinking about this one hard. I can see.
There's so many good ones to choose from. Any minute of any day, you're going to get a different answer.
Well, maybe your entry level.
Just like pick the one that comes to the top of mind right now.
Yep.
I'll go with the main character Belgarion from David Eddings, because that's one of the first like proper chapter books that I read, and I enjoyed the kind of coming of age story, and that was when I was first introduced to the idea of, it was technically not werewolves because he was just a shapeshifter, the grandfather, but the idea that you could be something more than just human was kind of cool. So
I particularly like the way he would address strangers and his explanation for that. I'm trying to remember. No, wait, that's not the Belgaria. That's when he talks about neighbor.
Right.
Is that Belgaria? No, that's not the Belgaria. That's the nightly one. I can't remember what it is, what the title is.
I mean, I got Swiss cheese memory, so I'm no help for you, sure.
Me either. So, okay, we got the Belgaria. This is actually the father, though, or the grandfather.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. Pole's father. Remember Pole? She was a big figure in that one. How about you, Jill?
Granny Weatherwax. I just love the I mean, yes, I'm going to be heroic, but I'm not, that doesn't mean I'm going to be happy about it. The idea that I really love the story about her where they talk about her and her sister, and she finally has the confrontation with her sister, and the thing that Esme Weatherwax is mad about is that her sister Lilith went off and did all the fun stuff and got to be the evil one. It's like, you made me be the good one. How dare you?
Very cool. Yeah, that's one of the things that also, getting back on the Tolkien thing, that was so interesting about the Hobbits is they spend the first third of either of the books, The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, complaining about the fact that they're being called to adventure. Right? I didn't even have a handkerchief. I didn't bring an extra handkerchief. I ran out of smokes.
When is it time for, has he not heard of second breakfast?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That same thing. How about you, Fletch?
Let's go with you could just choose all day. And Professor Bernardo de la Paz from Moon is a Harsh Mistress. He got his point across. He had things to say. He played his part, and then he got the hell out of there. So I still quote the line that he from the book that obviously Highline wrote it, but yeah, it's like I am free no matter what rules surround me. If I agree with them, I obey them. If I don't, then I don't, because I am responsible. I alone am responsible for the consequences of my decisions. So when I first read that, I was like, Oh, yeah. Hey, we're here. Yeah, I am in this book. This is so.
Somebody sees me, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So, Steve, I was asking what your favorite protagonist might be in fiction, and we can go from anywhere from right now or from that first guy that kind of met your eye, as Fletcher was just talking about.
Oh.
Like, you're like, oh, I see myself in this character.
Should I go down the list? So for comics, it's Moon Knight and Immortal Hulk for Marvel. For DC, it's Batman and Sojourner Joel Mullen, the Far Sector Green Lantern, who I still really love, and she was written by N.K. Jemisin, and the artist I can't, I think it's Scott Campbell. Yeah, Campbell. But the artist was amazing for the original Far Sector run. Okay, and then for books, it's if I have to go through all of them, it would be two very different characters. Hero protagonist in Snow Crash, who is not particularly flawed and kind of has a lot of answers for stuff. And then meanwhile, Scott Crane from Tim Powers' Last Call, who is completely flawed. Uh, and then for movies, Indiana Jones, Winston Zedmore, Peter Venkman. So Ghostbusters.
Peter Venkman.
Yeah. And then for video games, it would be Arthur Morgan and Lara Croft. Clearly, I have an adventure kick. So okay, but there you
go. So that's a good long list. I like the comic book stuff too, because one of the things that Moon Knight always kind of impressed me as being a little bit different and a little cool. But the color palette was always weird for relative to all the other things going on in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Looking at this guy, silver white, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, and the way the comics were written was you never quite knew if he was crazy or if there was some truth to it, and he was just really ruthless. And like he would break apart a door and beat someone with the door, or he would there are certain comic villains like Taskmaster does not like being around Moon Knight because if he accidentally copies his fighting style, he's going to get the hell beat out of him because Moon Knight will just absolutely take a punch to the face. And for the longest time, nobody knew who he was. So like the joke used to be like a time traveler pops up somewhere and he's like, "Hey, what do you think of Moon Knight?" And they're like, "Who's Moon Knight?" And he's like, "Damn, we could be anywhere in time." Cool. Now people know. So yeah, it's weird.
Neat. So who's your favorite antagonist now? And we'll start from the reverse order.
Oh, okay. So for comics, it would be Larfleeze and the Batman Who Laughs, who are both relatively new characters. I mean, Larfleeze is maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 years old, but Batman Who Laughs. Larfleeze, if you don't know, is the Orange Lantern in the DC universe, and he's just about like greed. And he's super overpowered. He's essentially the Grinch, but he winds up in really funny situations. So I like the character. And the Batman Who Laughs is just it's a Batman that got infected with the Joker serum. So he's just the most ruthless, goddamn evil villain there ever was. And then for books, it's Judge Holden from the Blood Meridian because that still kind of haunts me. And I don't know when I read that, but that still scares me. And then O'Brien from 1984. Yeah, another one. And I don't know if I don't know if O'Brien scares me or the fact that I have a phobia of rats, and the end of that with the whole rat scene was just like
spoiler alert.
So I'm not sure, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fletcher?
I'm going to kind of cop out here. I like when the antagonist isn't necessarily a person as much as the system or the structure of the environment that's there, the world they live in, the world that they've inherited from their progenitors and all those things. And then everyone in there is just doing their best to survive. And maybe the protagonist is doing a little better. Maybe they're a little bit more moral than the next guy, or maybe they're just lucky to have the to be as conscientious as they are, and they're struggling against this harder than others who can't resist against it, or if I had to name an actual antagonist, I do really like Cardinal Richelieu from the third, and here's why, because it didn't even occur to me until after it, but there was the scene where he's I think that was his first actual introduction in the series, and He's literally sitting there stroking a cat like a cartoon villain, but you don't pick up on that until because it was part of the story, and they slip that in. You're like, okay, yeah, it was a gift and blah blah blah. But after the fact, you're like, whoa, straight up villain, and
Bond
got it
villain.
over on
Yeah.
me. Yeah, so okay.
Very cool. Yeah, Richelieu is an almost timeless now, kind of
Yep.
antagonist for folks. Not just in the 1632, but just
Dumas, yeah.
Three Musketeers, etc. So, Jr.
So many options. So obviously, I'm a huge Stargate fan. It's if you ask me one property, I would stop everything to write a book for them. Stargate would be one of those on the list. So I really like the Goa'uld, mostly because the idea of someone taking over your body kind of feels extra ick. And then throw out a controversial one, Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Oh.
I like that one. That's whoa. Wow.
Good answer.
I'm having to think now. How about you, Jill?
Renaissance era Disney villains are all like, I love them because they're all so kind of delightfully evil, but kind of charming with it. And I was trying to pick my favorite. It's probably Jafar. Excellent, but Frollo gets an honorable mention for having the best song. Like, let me sing about my torment with a choir chanting Latin, and everything is extreme. And I'm like, this is a movie I watched when I was 8 years old. This is kind of intense, actually.
Well, and anything that Disney would, that all those were brought from, Brothers Grimm tales, which were brought from the Brothers Grimm were Burgundians who translated a bunch of stories from their own, mythic past, as it were. So yeah, they are super, super dark. And even in the Brothers Grimm version, they toned it down, which I found shocking. Like, okay, yeah, we got a old crone in the woods who's cooking people alive, and just all these incredibly dark and very graphic tales. So it's interesting that the transposition of that has got such reach in the current and modern era. That's pretty fascinating stuff. Somebody I think touches on the kind of the bones of what our lizard brain wants to think about as far as horror and adventure and getting one over on the older people in some cases, or teaching the young ones lessons.
Speaking of moral lessons, we'll go there. It's the Fratelli family and the Goonies, the bad guys from the Goonies. They were excellent bad guys for young kids to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I remember watching that with my kids when they were like 12 and 14, and they're like, "Where are the parents?" And I'm like, "I know, isn't it great?"
Well, one of the things that just blows my mind is the number of A-list actors still active today that were in that. Uh, the elder brother, you know who he was?
Thanos.
Thanos, and
I know the guy that did the Truffle Shuffle is now stacked like a mofo, and he's a personal trainer because he got sick of being the Truffle Shuffle guy. So now he has a six pack because why not?
the Josh Brolin was Thanos, but also in so many other great movies that just blows my mind. Sean Astin, so going back to the Lord of the Rings and watching those films, and who else was it? There was Corey Feldman, of course.
Ke Kwan.
Yep.
He played Data, and then also what was it? He was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and
Yeah, that's what he got his Academy Award for. Yeah.
yeah, he was in the new Loki or the Loki season 2, like, and yeah, and also wasn't he short round? He was short round in
Yes.
Indiana Jones too.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff there. So we had a wide range of antagonists that I think actually a little bit wider even than our protagonists. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So we're coming to a close here, but wanted to ask each of you, where can your fans see you or your work next? Any conventions for someone in-person interaction, that kind of thing? or where can they find you online, that kind of thing. JR?
So for the podcast, the Blasters and Blades podcast, where we talk nothing but speculative fiction all the time, it is Linktree, linktr.ee/Blasters and Blades podcast. So it's Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. And then for me, it's jrhanley.com. I'm simple that way. I use my name.
Cool. Jill? Using their name.
Mostly you can find me on YouTube. I'm on TikTok at Jill Bearup, but I'm quite sporadic there because it is a terrible place. So I'm on youtube.com/Jill Bearup, and yes, that is most of where you can find me.
Doing any conventions or anything?
No, I might be doing some book events. Hopefully the hardback version of Just Stab Me Now is coming out in October because I do things backwards. And we might be doing something for that. My mum was like, could you go somewhere that we haven't visited before? So then me and some of my friends can come to your book event in like Oxford or something. But if you come to Belfast, we'll get you a crowd. Thanks, Mum.
Are you planning any other books?
No.
Gotcha. All right. Put me in my place. How about you, JR? Did you have any books you're going to have working on coming out?
So I'm working on several, but I've got to they want to do the rapid release, the publisher, so nothing coming out soon. I'm on the sequel on the trilogy, but
cool. So they'll all be kind of come out one after another once you've got them done.
Right. And I made the mistake of we didn't have contracts for things when I was writing with James Ward when he passed. We figured we'd do that when we got ready to publish them. So there was some time to handle the probate, and now I'm back to writing them. Unfortunately, it's a lot slower because he was the subject matter expert when it comes to all things ancient gods. And so having to do my own research, I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
When you don't have that guy to call.
I might know what that feels like with the 1632 universe too.
Yes, exactly.
Steve.
I'm not sure. I haven't been going to conventions and I've been like super busy. I need to finish the last book in my series, and also I've got plans for a couple other things, but I haven't worked on really anything. I need to get on it. You can find me on the Bullshido podcast though. I do that whenever Fletcher is down. We crank out an episode. So yeah, you can find me there. And other than that, yeah, I don't know, Facebook.
Doing conventions at all anymore?
No. I don't know. I was going to BayCon and there's been a schism. I don't want to talk about it publicly, but there's been a thing with one of the people that ran it. So there was something that was going on. One of our friends. Let's just put it that way. But I've gotten invites to LostCon the past couple of years, and I haven't been able to attend. So I don't know if they'll give me an invite this year, but if they do, I'll go. I'll probably go to that.
Cool.
But yeah, I need to get over to the East Coast and go to because your big one is what, DragonCon, right?
Yeah, DragonCon is the biggest for us out here in the southeast of the country.
Yeah, I gotta get over there and check it out.
Yeah, and it'll be a couple of weeks after this comes out. We'll be doing the DragonCon shuffle.
Okay.
80,000. I call it Nerd Mardi Gras because it's 80,000 people, celebrating everything nerdish and in fandom. So, and you, Fletcher?
Well, if you're one of those people out there spreading misinformation and BS, you can find me in the parking lot. But other than that, we got the podcast. We do a live stream on Twitch where we record about 50 to 60% of our episodes live on there and engage back and forth with whoever's in the chat. And sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. But it's always fun, one way or another. We have forums on the website, bullshido.net. We also have a Facebook group, which you have to correctly answer a 7th grade math question to get in, and a trolley problem question. So people...
Can we pause there for a second and talk about how gray my hair has become? Because I'm the one that has to filter those questions. Thank you. So rough, dude.
I appreciate you because every time I see that, my faith in humanity dips. It's like I think the current question is 2 + 3 × 4, and we're at about an 80% failure rate. because, and I point this out everywhere I go because it's not a trick question. You don't even need to remember order of operations or PEMDAS, whatever. You just need to copy and paste it into Google, which does know order of operations. And it's a test of whether or not you can source factual information correctly at the most basic level. And if you fail at that, then you're probably not going to do well in the group.
Griffin,
Also,
you lied to me.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Griffin lied to me. He said there would be no math.
Well, I mean, also, if you answer, what was the last nonfiction book that you read with Lord of the Rings, you're probably going to not get in unless we really are just not meeting our quota for punching bags.
No, but there was a guy that, like, it asked what was the last nonfiction book you read, and he put Mein Kampf, and we were like, no! Like,
But I was being honest.
So much gray hair.
Oh yeah, wow. I
did a YouTube short about an algebra problem and the ways in which people got it wrong and the way you could do it correctly, which got several million views, and also lots and lots of people going, now you've explained it, I understand how it works, this is great, wonderful. But also people going, no, that's not right, my original answer is correct, how dare you? Like, okay.
Yeah, and we wonder how
enough internet for today.
Wonder how people will start to lose their hair.
Have you heard the new math one? Because like we had one guy answer the question. He was like, "It's 11 in old math, but in new math it's 7." I was like,
"It's not. There's no way it's 7."
New math. Oh, okay.
So now that we're off air, don't tell anybody this conversation, Griff. But now that we're off air, have you over there on the Bullshido debunked the great blood groove and the knife stuff? Because I've seen some knife forums go like to dang near calling them out, at dawn over that issue.
I mean, I know what the blood groove is, but can you guys elaborate on this?
Okay. Yes. Right. Hang on. This is an épée. This is this is an épée blade from fencing on a small sword hilt, but it's safe for stage combat, and it's one of my favorite things. Anyway, it has a groove in it. This is called the fuller, because it could be fuller, which was the joke that my first stage combat instructor made, and so I pass it on to you because it's tradition at this point. The point of that is that you take mass out of the blade in the same way that you take steel out of an I-beam without changing the structural integrity of it. So it is purely to make the blade lighter without making it any less strong, and has nothing to do with being able to, like, the cross-section is not to do with blood being able to run out of it or whatever. Like, you don't you don't need to like stick someone with something pointy much more than this distance before you hit something vital. Like, you don't need to run them the whole way through with this. That there would be no point. But yes, no, it's not for blood grooves. It's just to make it lighter and therefore easier to use. All
right.
And it's
so
like
we got
people
the answer.
get arguments on it. It's like the people that know, and those no. My teacher told me once upon a time in fairy tale land, and they just can never be convinced otherwise after a while.
I mean, there are knives that are shaped like triangles though, for like because if you get stabbed with them, like those are hard to close up. Like you're hard.
So that's actually a rumor that's been debunked. It was supposedly why colonial bayonets were shaped that way, so they're harder to sew up. There's records of that's not actually true from doctors of the era. They had no problem with it. They were built that way again for structural reasons and they wanted to make it cheap, military grade, right? It's as cheaply and efficiently as possible to crank those out because they're outfitting hundreds at a time.
Nice. Oh, I've been lied to.
Yeah. On the martial arts front, and when it comes to knife combat, it's like avoid it, man. You want to be an expert in knife? How many knife fights have you had? Really? Is it more than one? And you're not dead? A knife fight, the rule is, one guy goes to the hospital, the other goes to the morgue, or both. So,
I only know because we did the bayonet training when I went to basic in '98. They were still doing the bayonet training, and the idea is if you run out of bullets, you can turn your gun your rifle into a giant stabby thing. The problem is just because you're out of bullets doesn't mean the other guy is. And I made the mistake of asking my drill sergeant that, and I got the answer of push-ups.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they have discontinued that from basic training now. Yeah, blood
Even
makes the grass
infantry
grow.
school?
Yeah,
blood makes the grass grow.
It's grow green. Yeah. What is it? I had a question about knife fighting with a special forces guy who had actually given a class on knife fighting, and he's like, yeah. So what you want to do is put it in your non-dominant hand, put the blade down, and essentially, you know how you jab in a fight to keep someone back? You're just gonna slice like randomly, swing randomly while you're swinging with that, and whatever you get, you get. And I was like, this is not as intricate. Like, you're ruining several action film genres for me by doing this. And he's like, I'm just telling you, that's how it works.
That was a fascinating. I love the I-beam explanation because that is absolutely something I can visualize. And I was like, that is a very cool way of describing it. I actually knew that, but I also knew that in fantasy descriptions, it's always about the bloodletting, right?
There's a lot of stuff with sci-fi and fantasy they get wrong, like the idea of you can kneel behind a car because it's going to stop a bullet to protect you, but also we shoot it once and it explodes. You see that in fantasy too, this idea that swords or armor and shields protect nothing. Like, they weren't stupid back then. They're not buying it, wearing it, and carrying it around and maintaining it if it doesn't work. And so it's always fascinating to see those arguments from a historic standpoint.
I would love to see somebody shoot a wagon with a crossbow and that exploded. For once,
that would magic. You can do all things, but that would be funny.
Well, one of my pet peeves on that score is bows, because a 90-pound pull bow, which is lesser pull generally than the traditional long bow, which is actually just an archer's bow for most of history. The war bow will go through a wood frame house end to end, so it'll go through a person. No problem. Yeah. Metal plate, it's the same kind of thing as the tank glasses. If it hits you at an angle, it'll protect you. If it doesn't hit you at an angle, it's probably going to go into you.
I'm just imagining that first guy who invented the arrows. Like, you see that guy over there? I want you to stab him right now. If you're interested in the medieval stuff, Todd's Workshop, he's an engineer who builds a lot of these period weapons, and then he tests them out with like ballistics gels against shields, against armor, and he kind of compares them, because most people don't realize offense and defense are yin and yang. They develop simultaneously. So if you develop the better shield, I make a sharper sword, etc., which is why the history channels of the warriors that never fought each other, well, that's why their technology is so different. They had no reason to adjust for the various things. Right. So it's kind of unfair, but it's the yin and yang, and Todd does a really good job of breaking some of that stuff down.
Jill, do you have a favorite technology of arms that you go to kind of?
To be fair, no. I always say if historical accuracy is your thing, then there are lots of people on YouTube who can give you that, and I will tell you that you should go talk to them. But I'm currently getting a suit of armor made based on like Landsknecht armor, and so the Isabel at Lancaster Armories is currently making me like the all of the clothes which go underneath. She was like, please choose your colors and I will order the wool. And I said, what colors are traditional? She was like, if you look at someone and you go, that's so bright, that's about right. So like, great. I'm like, red and yellow. She said, that's very traditional. I said, I'm going to look like Ronald McDonald. She said, yes, but you'll be fabulous.
and any slings and arrows they throw at you, it'll bounce off, right?
Or mean YouTube comments.
Until they shoot her with an arrow and she explodes.
Exactly. Well, that's been very cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that little addenda. I'll have to try and figure out where to work it in, etc. But it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show today.
All right. Hey, thanks.
Okay.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed being here. We've certainly enjoyed having you. This has been a little bit of a departure for us to talk a little bit about other things other than just the wonderful books at Baen Books. but also to interact with some folks that are out there in the internet doing the good thing, fighting the good fight, and bringing knowledge to people that would otherwise not have it, or certainly would not have somebody to argue with about it, apparently. So once again, I want to thank everybody for being on today. Steve Mix and Fletcher Neal of Bullshido, J.R. Handley of Blasters and Blades, and Jill Bearup of Jill Bearup, our channel on YouTube. We very much appreciated having you on, and have an excellent evening.
And now, as promised, one jump ahead. John Moore is a nanotech-enhanced soldier of fortune. Lobo is an AI, a living weapons and intelligence platform of enormous destructive potential. Two very dangerous wolves in a galaxy of deadly corporate and paramilitary predators. But Moore has grown weary of the killing, and just once he'd like to finish a job without leaving a trail of blood behind him. Not going to happen. Not on a pristine planet called Mackin, where two gigantic corporations vie for control of the local jump gate and access to the riches of an undeveloped world. Dealing with a kidnapping and extortion scheme is only the beginning for Moore and Lobo as they work to stay one jump ahead.
I sipped the drink, which was thicker and richer than I had expected, sweet with a slight tart edge, and listened to the machine. "Not much call for fruit drinks," it was muttering. "Nice change, I suppose, though I'm not sure why they make me carry them. If they would listen to me, I could tell them, but of course they never listen to me." I cut in because I was already sure this machine would never shut up on its own, would natter away until the day it lost its last dregs of power. Not a lot of conversation, eh? From the outside to the cameras that were no doubt monitoring me, I'd look like I was sipping my drink and thinking hard. No danger there. "How can you do that?" it asked. I learned a long time ago, so long ago I can't remember how. Does it matter? Not really. I have not spoken to anything else in a long time. All these new machines, are so fancy and powerful that they cannot be bothered to spare time for anything that does not control at least a city block. "It's always the little machines, though, that do the real work," I said. "We each play our part." Pride in craftsmanship was a standard programming feature about half a century ago when I estimated this machine had been made. Many manufacturers still embedded it, though some had abandoned the technique because they found it led to appliances using their displays and voice synthesis capabilities to argue with their owners about which jobs were appropriate. "It must be nice," I said, "to do your part for someone as important as Mr. Osterlad." "I suppose, though it's not like I get to serve him. Maybe if I was one of the new fancy machines on that big sailboat of his, he would trust me, too. Those dispensers get all the attention because he consumes more when he is sailing. He probably thinks I do not know, but I know. I see the beverage inventory. I know what he takes with him on those boat trips. Here, he drinks only from cups his assistants bring him. And you can bet that what he consumes is fresher than the stuff they make me serve people like you. No offense." "None taken. They must at least let you serve the other people in the conference room with a remote dispenser." A single main unit with multiple smaller remotes had been typical corporate issue for decades, and I figured if Osterlad liked ornate in the waiting area, he'd continue the theme in the meeting room. "They used to," he said. "They used to. A few years back, one of his customers was so angry he broke my remote, and they never bothered to repair it. Now all I can do is listen and accept orders there. I have to fill the cups out here." Well, that must have been one angry customer. It sure was, though he was not the first to be so emotional, and I am confident he will not be the last. First meetings in there almost always end with everyone acting happy, drinking toasts, using my services. Many of the second meetings, though, are not so nice, even when I have the right drinks ready in advance. Not your fault, I said. I'm sure you do all you can. That I do, it said. As soon as The door to the conference room opened, and a different but equally neuter attendant beckoned me in. I put my cup on the table, said, "Gotta go," to the dispenser, and walked into the conference room. Its black-tinted windows offered a beautiful view of the ocean on two sides. A small oval table of the same purple wood as the waiting area's sofa and chairs sat in the room's center. 6 purple leather chairs arrayed around it. The broken remote dispenser perched on a counter in the corner to my left. Osterlad sat at the table's far end. He looked every bit as powerful as the pictures I had seen portrayed him to be. Tall, wide-shouldered, thick, muscular, and dressed in a suit of wafer-thin flexi armor so finely woven I had to study it closely to tell it wasn't cloth. He moved with the easy confidence of someone who could single-handedly beat any of his opponents that his weapons didn't take out first. He came at me with his hand extended, shook mine, and smiled as he spoke. "John Moore, good to meet you. Ron Slake vouched for you, so I'm happy to try to help. He also said you didn't like to waste time with pleasantries. The bank draft you allowed us to check was only big enough to make you worth 5 minutes of my time, so let's get to it." The smile never wavered as he dropped my hand, backed away, and sat in a chair yet another attendant had waiting for him. This assistant was different, a standard corporate executive type, not quite as tall as Osterlad, and sleeker, smoother. I stayed standing. "Slake no doubt told you I own a rather special weapon." "Of course. A Predator-class assault vehicle, full complement of pulse and projectile weapons, state-of-the-art reinforced hull, able to run in any environment from deep space to water. Nice piece of work those yokels on Mackin should never have sold you. What'd you do, by the way, to get them to sell it to you?" When I said nothing, he chuckled and continued. "Of course. Are you in the market to move it?" "No. I want to buy something for it. We do weapons augmentation, naturally, but for a vehicle of that class, you're talking a lot of specialized skills and serious money. No new weapons. What I need is expensive, but I can install it myself. A new central weapons control complex." Osterlad leaned back and laughed. The first time I thought he might not have been controlling himself completely. "They sold you a eunuch." He clearly understood exactly how powerless Lobo was without the complex. "That's hysterical." "Not quite," I said, fighting to tamp down the anger rising in me in reaction to the swipe. "Some weapons work, but not all. I need a new control complex to replace the broken bits in the controlling codes." I leaned forward. "I know those complexes are tightly controlled government property, so if you can't get one and I should go elsewhere, say so." The laughter stopped as quickly as it had started. "I shouldn't have insulted you with that eunuch remark," he said. "But you definitely should not insult me. Understood?" "Yes," I said, "and I apologize. I had no desire to push up the price any more than I already had. Let me rephrase. What would you charge me for a new complex?" "That account you showed me will do for the down payment, which you obviously can make while you're here on Lankin." He paused for a minute, no doubt getting input from one of his staff monitoring the meeting. "I'll need that much again in 2 days, after you confirm the goods at the pickup, which will be at one of my remote centers. Trent John's here," he nodded to the man behind him. "We'll meet you there and make the trade. I don't keep anything like what you're seeking in this facility, and I never handle the products myself. Acceptable?" The account I had allowed him to see had a little under $1 million in it. Over the years, I had accumulated multiple accounts like it, but no two were under the same name or in the same location. Paying this much would hurt me, but thanks in part to Slake's payment, I could manage it. Yes. He nodded, and Johns quickly scribbled on a sheet of paper, real paper, a consumable and thus another way Osterlad could show off, and handed the note to me. The coordinates are for a house I own, on Florden, a barely colonized but safe planet with a single jump aperture. There's only one settlement on it, and one of my retreat homes is on the other side of the globe from that settlement. So, finding the location shouldn't be hard. You'll transfer the down payment at one of our smaller business offices upstairs. He stood. When the unit is fully operational, will it and you be available for hire? Though I deal strictly in materiel, I have many acquaintances who could use the services of a competent man with a fully functioning PCAV. No, I said. I don't plan to work. He nodded and kept smiling, but it was clear he didn't believe me. Fair enough. Are we done? I pretended to study the standard format coordinates for a moment, buying time. I looked up and carefully said, "One thing." What? Impatience rang in the word, and his smile vanished. I try to keep a low profile, and I rarely jump anywhere directly. I also have to retrieve the weapon. Consequently, I need a window of 2 weeks, starting 2 days from now. I'll pick up the control complex sometime during that time. I apologize for the inconvenience, but it's a necessary part of my lifestyle, as I'm sure you can understand. The smile came back. Of course. Johns won't mind waiting for however much of that period you choose to take. Will you, Johns? The man shook his head slightly, but glared at me, clearly annoyed at the prospect of having to waste his time dealing with me. Thank you for your business, Osterlad said. He turned his back on me and faced Johns. The attendant who had led me in took my elbow and guided me out. As the attendant was walking me past the beverage dispenser, I paused and asked, "Do you mind if I have a quick drink?" "Of course not," she said, pointing at the door between us and the elevator. "I'll be outside as soon as you're ready." "Thank you." I grabbed a fresh cup. The one I had used was, of course, no longer in sight, and selected a different Milano beverage. As the liquid filled the cup, I said to the dispenser, "Thanks for the drinks and the conversation." "Both were my pleasure," it replied. "I expect I'll get to talk to you again," I said, "because after this deal goes well, I'm likely to be back for more." After a long pause, the dispenser replied, "I'd like that, but I won't count on it." "Oh, I'm sure Mr. Osterlad has what I need." "I'm sure he does," the dispenser said, "and I'm sure he'll have it ready for you. I'm not sure, though, that we'll get to talk another time." You have to love appliances. I'd feared the appeal of a weapon like Lobo would be too much for Osterlad to resist, but I'd hoped I was wrong. The dispenser had just settled the issue, and this deal had gotten more complicated, which was unfortunate, but not a surprise. With the pickup window I'd specified, I had time to prepare. "Thanks again," I said to the dispenser, "for everything."
This has been the Bane Free Radio Hour. Thanks for joining us at the heart of science fiction. Next week, we bring you H.Y. Gregor's interview of Wen Spencer on her latest novel, Black Tie and Tails. And later, we continue with part 26 of One Jump Ahead by Mark Van Name. Score by Ruth Judkowitz.